And the way I look at it, this is not Klaus Schwab's fault or Fauci's fault or Biden's fault or Trump's fault or Kennedy's fault or Big Tree's fault for bamboozling you and telling you nonsense. If you're not willing to think, then that's their job, is to bamboozle you. If you're not willing to think, then somebody will come into that void and tell you nonsense to think, and that's not their fault. There will always be the next person to do that, and they will keep doing it until you stand up and say, no, I am a logical, rational human being. I have a mind. I can think for myself. This is very easy stuff to understand. I am not going to allow myself to be fooled and to lessen myself as a human being. By choosing not to think, you are choosing the path of lessening yourself as a man or a woman as a functioning human being, because that is our gift that we've been given, that we can begin to understand the world if we just get ourselves together and learn to think properly and stick to that and not be swayed by all the people and all the emotions and all the traumas and all the conditioning and all the punishments and all the rewards that have convinced us that we better not think because all kinds of bad things will happen. That cannot be the way to build a healthy world. And we're seeing that whole agenda play out before our eyes. And I know I said I was going to do question and answer, but I went on for a while here. I want to finish with something which I don't actually have permission to show publicly, except he gave permission to somebody else, which I think summarizes it exactly what I'm trying to say in one short paragraph. And this is from our friend Michael Bryant, and I just happened to see this today. And again, I hope he doesn't mind, but he gave permission to somebody else. So, they operate on the level of ancient superstitions, snatching at imaginary dibbucks that can only be seen through the lens of super-duper techno-marvel machines that are pre-programmed to point towards motes and mites as evidence of the haunting. And then they create magical elixirs that in a sane world would be understood for what they are, industrial poisons that will exorcise these submicroscopic demons from the mortal body. Makes for a good show in big business, but has nothing to do with biological reality. I think that sums it up. We're looking for imaginary unicorns and demons and exorcising them, and the only people who can see them do so with jargon and their super duper techno marvel machines, which nobody else of us can understand, because we all know they consumed enough schooling, so the only people left they can talk to are people who've consumed a similar amount of school, and the rest of us are unfortunately in the dark, except, folks, we're getting the hang of this. We're getting the hang of this. And we've figured out what these machines are doing and how they programmed them and how it's just a big old magic show. And you can see that with every comment section and more questions and the desperation that they keep their techno marvel show going to smaller and smaller things, because once we prove that the genome is a hoax, then they'll say, well, it's not the genome, it's the subset of the epitope of the positive strand going negative backwards on the highway, and more baffling. And at some point you have to just say, you know what? I got this. Enough of this. I'm going to think for myself. I'm going to reclaim my humanity and think for myself. I'm not going to let these people bamboozle me with their engineered viruses and scary viruses and lab created nonsense. No more of that. I'm thinking for myself.